Hello everyone, welcome back to the Captain Logan Show. It's I, Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my wonderful chat moderator and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ.
Hello, everyone.
What is happening, sir?
Nothing, I'm just jamming to what I assume is some kind of Powerpuff Girls related music.
It wasn't. This time I played the Bulk and Skull theme.
Oh, then I wasn't doing the right dance at all.
No, it oddly seemed to sort of go with it. In fact, when you first started doing that, I was like, well, he shouldn't be able to hear that. How's he hearing that? Oh, he just knows there's music playing.
I just always have the Bulk and Skull theme in my head, 24/7.
He wakes up in the morning with just na-na-na-na-na-na. No, I've been in a Power Rangers mood, and I just felt like playing them.
Cool. I should be in a Power Rangers mood. I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah, it has. The reason I wound up in a Power Rangers mood, oddly, was because of the review we did for Godzilla vs. Kong. Because Power Rangers came up a little during that, because Connor and Austin both had never seen Power Rangers at all, but they're both big Godzilla fans. And I was like, well, there's so much. I mean, you remember, well, I don't know if you've seen his video on this, but James Rolfe did a couple years ago a video on Power Rangers, I guess when the 2017 movie came out, and was talking about how he never grew up with that. We're talking about the Angry Video Game Nerd guy. He never grew up with Power Rangers, but he was a huge Giant Monster fan, and huge into, Godzilla and all that kind of stuff, and it just never bothered with Power Rangers, and he finally watched some with the new movie coming out, and ended up watching, most of the original series, and he was like, oh, wait a minute, this is totally my thing, look at all the giant monsters. And so I was thinking about that when I was talking to Connor and Austin, and I was like, I really need to show these guys some Power Rangers. So DJ, I showed them, we didn't record or anything, we just hung out yesterday, and I showed them Doomsday.
Oh,
because
cool.
I thought that was the closest to a Godzilla movie early Power Rangers has, and that's the two-parter with Cyclopsis, and should have been the end of that season. Remember that, DJ? It was supposed to be the end of that season, and then they made 20 more because the show got too popular, which DJ and I unaffectionately referred to as the Back 20.
The Back 20. I remember that. Man, that feels like forever ago that we did those reviews.
It does feel like a long time ago, yeah. And so I've been real nostalgic lately for Morphin Mania. I've been really missing that show. And DJ and I made its own channel for a while, and we're wanting to get back to that at some point. It's kind of on hiatus right now, partly because there's nowhere for people to stream it. So it's weird to put out commentaries now, because who's going to be able to get access to Turbo? Like, who's got the DVDs for Turbo besides you and I?
Besides me and you, yeah.
But anyway, how the heck is everybody? Welcome to the show. We are at our temporary new time slot, 9 p.m. Central Time, twice a week. And thanks a bunch for joining us live. If you are staying up late and doing that, we really appreciate it. We're going to be cutting things off at just an hour, so we'll get into our lead-in topic straight away here in just a minute, and then we'll take questions for the remainder of the hour. Thursday night, we're going to have another Captain Logan show, and then after that, After Dark, so look forward to that. And then next Tuesday night, we're going to be doing our penultimate episode of this round of Marvel Mania, and that will be for Spider-Man Far From Home. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to finish it off finally with New Mutants, which will be a really weird thing to end that whole phase off on. But DJ, I'm really excited because I don't have to rush out and buy that now. They just dropped it on HBO Max. Just perfect timing. So that was lucky.
That was exciting. I was not going to want to have to waste... I don't know how much I would have had to waste on it. Well, I guess I could have rented it, but still. It's so nice to have it right there for us streaming.
Well, and I buy all these things eventually anyway, but I don't have it right now, so I don't have to figure out, where to go buy it and spend more for it than I want to.
You could probably talk yourself out of not buying that one, though, because it's not really a superhero, is it? I guess we'll have to see when we see it. But
well, I mean, I've seen it, but obviously, New Mutants?
Oh yeah, you did a review.
I mean, I reviewed it, yeah. It was the last of the Fox X-Men movies, and it came out 4 years late. Maybe not quite 4 years late, but boy, it sure seemed like it. Late enough that they couldn't do reshoots because the actors had gotten too old. I've never heard of that happening.
At least they didn't do the reshoots and try to de-age them like It 2.
Oh no. Yeah, I guess sure. That would be unfortunate.
That would have been unfortunate with the budget that the Fox X-Men movie has.
Well, folks, if you want to make sure that your question, comment, topic is discussed on the air this evening, you can leave us a super chat in any dollar amount. That guarantees that we'll chat about whatever you guys want to chat about within reason. It's an Ask Me Anything show. Does not have to be about Powerpuff Girls tonight, but we can certainly chat about that more if you want to after our lead-in topic. We're going to talk here in a second about the news that we've gotten about the new live-action CW Powerpuff Girls show, which I have been disparaging even the concept of since we initially found out about it, and I cannot help but weigh in every time we have news on this. I keep thinking about just like skipping it and not talking about it, but Powerpuff Girls is one of my favorite things and I cannot help myself. Like I have to, I guess. So DJ, there's no way around it. I will be reviewing that pilot if it goes to series and airs. Like I don't wanna really, but then I'm also kind of curious the more we're hearing about it. I don't want to say that I'm like excited or I think this is likely to be a good show, because I don't, but
can that please be the first thumbnail that you let me put your face and you do like a really angry, like ranty face?
And like I always say with things, but what if it's good? Like I don't expect it, obviously.
Eat your hat, sir.
But what? That would be the craziest thing in the world, right? If that came out and it was good. Like, I don't know, this happens sometimes. I was surprised by the Snyder Cut. It ain't brilliant or anything, but like it was straightforward. I understood it, and I liked the character, some characterizations and some of the character dynamics in that, and the Justice League actually got along, which floored me. It was very exciting to me. So I don't know. Anything is possible, but I'm not liking anything I'm hearing or seeing about this yet, except the writing staff is interesting. So, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, leave your questions and comments throughout the show, and if you can't or don't want to do a super chat, just leave a pre-written question, and we'll get to as many of those as we can as well. All right, let's go ahead and get right into that. So, jumping over here to my monitor, this is the first image that we have. DJ, you can't see this. Let me share my screen.
That's okay. I saw it earlier.
Oh, I know, but then you can see the article that we're looking at. So this is from Variety, and Variety, I looked at a number of articles today about this, and Variety had the most concrete information. There are a couple things that I'm not seeing a lot of places reporting on that I wanted to talk about tonight, because I have a feeling that there's a couple things that a lot of you guys might not even know about yet regarding this show. So Powerpuff Girls pilot at CW gets a official first look. This is what the girls look like. They're just wearing their colors like they're unmorphed Power Rangers.
The pink, yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
And what we have learned is that they're not going to be wearing their costumes except in flashbacks as teenagers. So it feels very much like a Smallville kind of thing, and that's sort of what I expected, but they're going even farther with it than I thought. Smallville was a prequel reimagining. This is like a sequel reimagining. It's like, imagine that the Powerpuff Girls happened, but they were teenagers instead of little girls, and they're now 20-somethings that are really angsty about the fact that they lost their childhoods to being crime fighters. That is the premise of this show. So, ergo, it's not Powerpuff Girls. I mean, like, in any sense of it. And because the Powerpuff Girls, of course, really enjoyed being superheroes, and that was part of their childhood, and part of the fun was that they didn't very often really know the difference. That's what the movie was about. Like, when they're first born, they just, or made, I should say, they just, like, fly around the city playing tag and blow up everything, and they don't understand the consequences to that. It's hilarious. So I cannot in any way whatsoever expect this to be that show. Even the reboot of that show was not that show. Real quick, before we get into this article, I had this thought today, and I want to share it. So, I don't understand, DJ. Let's take a step back and just look at the big why question. I saw this in the comments earlier, and I forget who asked it, but somebody said, Cap, why is Powerpuff Girls? And the answer to that is, I can't tell you except for out-of-touch studio executives, because, DJ, the Powerpuff Girls that's not a thing that's made Warner Brothers money in almost 20 years, really. And I don't understand why we keep trying to go back to it. It's like they're stuck in the 90s and don't realize that merchandising train has sailed. Like, I don't know what it would take for them to make that property, like, insanely huge like it was for them again in the 90s. And in fact, I don't think there's anything they could do. I think that they could
not
come
this,
back.
For sure.
Certainly not this.
There's no merchandising for this. It's just teenagers.
But even and that's the thing, is that this isn't even teenagers. It's intentionally 20-somethings. It's like, and that's their log line. Like, the flashbacks when they're the Powerpuff Girls is as teenagers. So, like, they weren't little girls fighting crime; they were teenagers fighting crime. Apparently, or maybe they were as little girls too, but they just won't show footage of that. I don't know. But the point I'm making is, every time they've tried to bring this back, it's been a phenomenal disaster. The reboot series, as far as I understand, didn't do well. It didn't seem to move merchandising or merchandise, and part of that might have been because it wasn't the same show and it was for a different audience. And we keep making stuff like this, decades later, sequel material and reboots and things that seem to simultaneously be trying to cash in on the popularity of a thing by aiming it at the same audience and a new audience at the same time, and also not understanding the property and making it something completely different. I don't understand who this is supposed to be for, really, because, like, in kind of totally retooling it like this, it's like, I guess it's supposed to be for a, like, teenage or young 20-something audience, and we're really self-aware about, how popular the Powerpuff Girls were in the late 90s now, so we keep making it what people thought it was when they bought merchandise. That's what's so nuts about it, is that the Powerpuff Girls was not a, like, teeny bopper, like, aimed at, like, teenage girls thing. Like, there were a lot of girls that liked that show, but I mean, it was made by a film student who got drunk on the weekends and wanted to make something that was super violent, but the amusing thing was, it was the anachronism of, but it's little girls. That was the idea.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I had no exposure to the Powerpuff Girls except for the giant merchandise juggernaut that it was. So that's the vibe I always got, because that's the vibe that the merchandise put off. It kind of had like a Hello Kitty vibe. In the 90s.
It wasn't
like
that.
It was just like what girls wore, and I had no idea.
It wasn't prissy. It was pushing like satirical animated envelopes to some degree, and we're so self-aware about it now. I don't expect it to ever be that again, but I also think that it's just too much of a product of its time. Like, Craig McCracken put it to bed because he didn't have any more episodes to make. They did 6 seasons, and it was still doing well enough on TV that Cartoon Network was like, we really want a 7th season, and McCracken said, I'm done. I don't have anything else to say. And I always had a lot of respect for that, and he just put it to bed. He came back one more time 4 years later and did a 10th anniversary special, which is one of its best episodes, and made an honest-to-God finale for that show, brought everybody back, made that one episode and left, and that was it, and made it for, it aired on as a special, and then they put it on the DVD box set. And that was it. But DJ, like, nothing they've tried to do outside of that show has been popular, including the movie that was canonical with that show. It was a disaster. I don't understand, and I love that movie. It's one of my favorite superhero movies, and I was always perplexed by it not performing. And I think, I don't know if it was just that, it wasn't advertised well, or if that ship had kind of sailed already at that point. Like, at that point, you're into, like, 2002. This thing is a very, very 90s property, and it was already showing its age at that point. It's kind of like 60s Batman. Like, that was relevant for 2 years, and then never again in some ways. Or not never again, but, like, right after that, the world changed too much. And I wonder if something slightly similar didn't happen with the Powerpuff Girls. But anyway, so something nobody is talking about with this is that the show, if you look at IMDb, and I don't have this picture up, but there's a picture of a director's chair that has what looks like the title of it on the back. The show seems to be not called the Powerpuff Girls. It seems to just be called Powerpuff. Because they're not, I guess because they're not girls, they're not actually little girls anymore, so they don't want to put girls in the title, but also because it's that CW thing where it's got to be one word, and I want to say sound ominous or edgy, but there's nothing about Powerpuff that sounds that way, which makes me want to think that there's a chance it's some, like, tongue-in-cheek, like, over-the-top humor in this. I really hope somehow that's what it is. But with all the other details that we have, I don't expect that. At least, DJ, it's not called Townsville.
That would have been hilarious, actually. I would love that.
So we already knew the cast of the three girls, of course. The series stars Chloe Bennett as Blossom from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Dove Cameron as Bubbles, who's an actress I've never seen in anything. She looks, bubbly and stuff. Like I get with the look why you cast that girl. We'll see what her performance is like. And Yana Peralt is Buttercup, who I think is like a pop music artist, but I've never seen or heard her in anything either. But now we've got some information on some of the rest of the cast. Donald Faison will play their father, Professor Drake Utonium. So now he's got a first name because I think they're going to try to play this as, like, pseudo-real-world-ish, like CW very often does. Now everybody's got to have, like, real people names, sort of. He's an actor that I was not familiar with, but I looked him up. He is pushing 50. He's an African-American guy. I don't think I've ever seen him in anything. And then
Scrubs guy. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. That was his big credit, but I've never seen that.
He has a game show now that I've watched.
Oh, what is that?
I don't know. It was on the game.
I like game shows.
It was we have like the game show channel free on this TV that whatever this TV has on it, and it just plays like it's not like the main game shows. It's
we have it on this TV, but no other TVs.
Seriously, it's not like a streaming service we have. It's just like one of the channels on. It's weird. I don't even know how it works. It's this TV. But yeah, I don't know what it was. It was like a betting game show where you had to like get with the audience. I don't know. I'll have to look it up and let you know.
The future is weird. Robin Lively as Sarah Bellum, and I'm kind of surprised that character is even going to be in this show. I'm going to assume that they're not going to do the Chesty joke with her, and which, by the way, is fine, but I'm just saying I'm assuming they're not doing that. So she's still got her, like, fun play on words name, Sarah Bellum, because it was a complete name in the first place, so I don't expect this show to be clever like that. But this is the oddest new piece of information we've got. Nicholas Padani as this version of Mojo Jojo, who is... This is the most CW thing I could possibly read you. Joseph Jojo Mondell Jr. Okay.
Gotta show... I wish you could show the image. I wish it was in this article, because that image you sent me is hilarious.
The image of what?
The guy is just like super CW face guy.
Oh, did I send you an image of that guy? So yeah. He is, so we're going to have a 24-year-old Mojo Jojo. And my assumption is he's probably just going to be some, like, scientist guy that is like a Lex Luthor type that they don't know if they can trust or whatever, and then turns out to be Mojo Jojo. My guess is that the junior is important. I bet they fought a Mojo Jojo before, and that this is like his son or something. And like the show's
the Lex thing and BVS.
Yeah, where the show's not going to have the budget to have like a CG monkey creature, at least it's not always in the dark, DJ. Like Flash did with Gorilla Grodd or with like King Shark. Mm-hmm. And my guess is Mojo Jojo is gone now, but just like Professor Utonium, he also made his own child and used Chemical X. That's my theory.
Yeah, and whenever you make that's how these beautiful CW people are real, because they all been made in factories.
Precisely. Unless they go even farther with this and Utonium had children the normal way, and there's like some kind of drama with his ex-wife or something, because I could also see CW doing that kind of nonsense. But the only problem with my theory is that if his nickname is JoJo, everybody would know that he's Mojo Jojo's kid, or maybe they do know that, and that's just public information. That's my guess. Either that, or it's gonna be they had, or they're gonna do like the sequel and prequel reimagining things simultaneously, which I also don't put past the CW, where they go, the Powerpuff Girls had a whole career as teenagers, as superheroes, and they never fought Mojo Jojo, and now we have Mojo Jojo, but he's not a monkey guy, he's this totally other thing. And I'm sure he's not going to speak like that or anything fun, but I guess we'll see. DJ, I looked up that actor, and he's the guy who played Harry Potter's kid on stage in Cursed Child.
Oh, my wife would hate him.
That's who he is.
Although she hasn't seen the play, she's only read the terrible script book. But
the series,
that's crazy.
Yeah, the series, simply titled Powerpuff, was first announced as being in development back in August. Everybody knows this stuff. Oh, by the way, here's the set photo that we got last week or the week before. So that's them in their outfits, and it just looks really fan filmy. Now, I don't know what I was expecting. Certainly, I saw some people saying things like, I was really hoping that they, like, wouldn't have hands and stuff, and I'm like, how do you do that in live action? What would that even look like? Like, if you're gonna do live action Powerpuff Girls, it kind of just has to look like this, but I just don't want this. This just shouldn't be a thing, right?
We have never had a more unanimous chat. Everyone is 100% in agreement with you, and never a more suicidal chat either. Everyone wants to die.
Yeah, no, it just makes me want to kill myself. Absolutely, I said that. DJ, I'll tell you, I said that to him earlier today. I said I just want to kill myself when this premieres. I hope it doesn't go to series. I really do, and I don't think that'll happen.
CW doesn't say no to anything, it seems like.
The only saving grace we've got here, and my hope is that this is just a really cynical premise that some idiot studio head came up with because they've got Powerpuff Girls still sitting in a drawer and they think they can still make money on it because at one time it was a cash cow, and they end up handing it to people that actually have creative ideas with it. It's being made by at least one of the producers of iZombie and one of the writers from that show, and that's a great show. She also wrote episodes for Veronica Mars, which I've heard good things about but have never seen, and worked on the revival, and I don't know if that's any good because I haven't seen the original either. But the only writer credits we have so far, and of course who knows who else they'll put on staff, but are Heather Regnier, who worked on those two shows like I mentioned, and then Diablo Cody. What a kick-ass first name. I wish my name was Diablo.
Diablo Logan. That's a little hard to say, but
Diablo Cody. But she... Sorry, I ended up going back for some reason. What did she work on? She wrote Juno back in 2007, and Jennifer's Body, which is not a good movie, but I enjoyed more than anybody. And then after that, she's just done a bunch of kind of random little TV things. So anyway, that's the news as we have it right now with that whole thing. I've spent too much time talking about this, but like this is the last thing on earth you want to do this kind of thing with, because it was already a parody and a satire, and you just know that it's going to be too self-aware and take itself too seriously. And I hope somehow that's not what it is, but the premise of it is that. And I want to say, like I said earlier, you know, who's it for? Who would even want to watch this show? Well, it worked for Riverdale. That's been popular enough for them to keep that on. And I don't understand that either. So maybe it will turn out that there's an audience for this. That doesn't mean it'll be good or anything. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to say that the professor actor, hiring him is also maybe a sign that they're going to go in more of a self-aware comedic route. I don't know why you would hire him if he was just going to be like serious professor guy. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird premise. It seems like it's like the same problem that weird Power Rangers fan film had, where it's like you have to do, if you're going to do a super serious version, you have to start from the beginning. You can't pretend like what we saw as a kid is this horribly dark, depressing. Like that's what the Power Rangers fan film did. It's like, oh yeah, what you saw happened, but now it's like they're having PTSD and all the kids are being killed, and Zordon like controlled us and like didn't like treat us right, and it's like what is this?
And the thing is, the premise of it is inherently silly and goofy. I mean, Power Rangers, I think you can get away with being more like truly dramatic and earnest than you can with something like Powerpuff Girls, and it still not be just a completely other thing. We're getting a lot of super chats, so we're gonna have to move on here in a second. But like even with Power Rangers, the idea is so inherently ridiculous and goofy and out there that the thing itself has to have a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek quality, while you'd want all the characters to play everything 100% straight, which was the things in the 2017 movie I liked the most. because like I like that all the characters, all the actors played everything really straight, but then you could have goofy stuff like the Zeo crystal is under a Krispy Kreme. Like I loved the blend of those kinds of things. But I don't think you can do that with Powerpuff Girls. I think it has to be what it was, or you kind of shouldn't do it. That's my feeling.
Well, we'll see.
Doesn't mean I can't be won over, but I'll be really surprised if I am. Let's go ahead and move on, shall we? What do people want to talk about?
All right, well, we're still on it.
I'll try to answer kind of lickety-split tonight if I can. I've already spent 20 minutes on this, so yeah, go ahead.
Super Billy, $5 super chat. I adore the original Powerpuff Girls as well, and I hate this new CW Riverdale-esque pseudo-sequel desperate to be cool and contemporary nonsense.
That's what it seems like so far.
We agree with you.
I agree with you.
Sped of Askew.
Oh, I didn't know that. Or if I did, I'd forgotten. Claude Kringa there in the comments. Welcome, because that's a name I don't recognize. At least Tom Kenny is coming back as the narrator. Okay, I mean, that gives me more hope that it's not going to take itself too seriously. Because I don't know why you would get him if you're not going to open with, with the same kind of narration they did in that show. The city of Townsville. Although, wouldn't it be really sad if we did that, where like he played everything, as silly as that show was, but then the show itself is just really serious? Oh, I have another prediction about that show. The three girls are all like off having their own lives now, and they will either not even come back together and meet in the pilot, or it'll happen in the last scene of that episode.
That's the problem I had with season 2 of Umbrella Academy, because we do like the getting the band back together the whole first season, and then we do it again in the second season.
It'll be like Titans.
To see them.
It'll be like that pilot for Titans.
I hope not. I mean, I don't care because I'm not going to watch this, but for your sake.
Oh, I want to make you. I feel like you should have to feel my pain. No, I'm kidding. Okay, go ahead.
I've heard your rant about it enough. I might as well. Sped of Askew. Since you are both smart and watch Friends, well, thank you. Maybe you can finally answer this. Why doesn't Ross, the largest one, not simply eat the other 5?
What? We lost DJ. He's gone. The largest one. Ross is not a fat guy.
Not prepared for that.
He's tall.
That took a turn. That took so many turns. Can we break down this comment?
Absolutely.
Because first he caught me off guard by just giving us a compliment.
The compliment.
Right off the bat, like really let down my guard. And then I was like, oh, let's go talk about Friends. And he talks about Ross. And then, wow, went off the deep end there.
Layers within layers. Where did you think that was going to go? Because I thought he was going to ask something about how Ross is clearly kind of a psychopath.
Yeah, well,
the show doesn't know it. I thought he was going to go to that place.
I thought it was going to be like something about why Ross and Rachel clearly don't belong together at all, and the show pretends like we still want them to get together for the last 5 seasons. But
especially those last couple when they have a kid together.
Oh, it's horrible.
And all of their friends are like, obviously you should be together. And I'm like, if I'm Rachel, I would have already moved to Connecticut. Like,
yeah, I don't know why he didn't eat them all. I don't think he was starving or like short on money or anything. Although he's a paleontologist, I don't know how much they make.
I want to read. We can't get away from Powerpuff. Claude Kringa. I bet we'll see him at the end of the pilot. I will not take that bet, sir. I think you're absolutely right about that. I think that will be the big villain reveal, and he'll be the big bad.
Wow.
Yeah, cool. I think you're right. Unless they just make Mojo the big bad, and like it's really obvious to us that he's the bad guy, but the Powerpuff Girls don't know because they've never fought him before.
And at the very last episode, he'll turn to JoJo Sr. and be like, "You have no idea what I'm capable of."
He'll have to decide whether or not he's going to let him die because there's a big sharp piece of wood over his head.
All right. Thanks for the Ross question. Don't really know how to answer it.
Yeah.
That made my evening. Super Billy, $5. The city of Townsville.
The city. Oh, sorry.
Buttercup, is that a syringe in your arm?
No!
By the way, him is now problematic. Faison was in Kick-Ass 2. Oh, he was in Kick-Ass 2. That's where...
I would assume they would just play him very differently. I don't think they'll do the kind of, pseudo-transvestite thing that they do with him in the show. Or they will, and they'll pat themselves on the back for being progressive with it. It'll be one it'll be one of those two things. I don't know.
So yeah, the professor was one of the guys in Kick-Ass 2 that was on the team.
Jedi Knight, let me read his super chat real quick. Calling it now, Tom Kenny will be a newscaster. I also won't take that bet. I think you're also right about that. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Good call.
Wow, lots of predictions tonight. We should be writing these down. I guess
should.
That's my job. They'll be in my Evernote. All right, Super Billy.
You know what's going to happen? This is going to be that show that I hate, but I'll talk about it on a weekly basis. That's what'll end up happening.
Probably.
It'll be
It's the next Gotham. Also named after a place.
The city of Gotham. Sorry, go ahead.
JoJo, this is Super Billy. JoJo got hitched. Did Palpatine attend his wedding?
Yeah, I guess he must have if this guy's junior, but then his dad could just be like, I could be wrong about that whole prediction. His dad could just be a guy. But that's going to be even worse if we're doing it as a pseudo sequel thing where we're sort of pretending like we've seen the show that precedes it, but then they change major stuff like that.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's like what you said on your great Deadless Warrior review that came out.
Oh, thanks, man.
Today, where they want you to just turn your brain off and forget everything that you know about the topic, but still get giddy that it's being made in the first place.
Yeah, they turn you into a blank slate, and as soon as you walk off and take a shower, you go, wait a minute! That's right, I do have knowledge in there. You're not... You don't supersede my previous reading and watching of things just because you're on television. That doesn't validate everything.
Well, man, television and movies, they are the most valid form of media.
I'm seeing a lot of really cool super chats. Thanks a lot, guys. Let me read Tom's real quick, too, just because we're still in Powerpuff. Mojo Jojo, I don't know why you wrote Mojo in capital letters, but Mojo Jojo puts his brain in Junior, maybe. I also could see that, yeah. And that sounds like a real Smallville kind of thing to do.
Put the brain in
him. Where they go. He used to be a monkey guy. But we don't have the budget for that, so... Oh,
man, it's going to be Doctor Doom in the 2005 Fantastic Four movie, where at the very end of the movie, he finally gets the brain helmet thing and, like, puts it on his head.
I bet they'll do that, yeah. Or that'll be the big reveal at the end of the first episode, is that he has the turban thing just, like, in a corner of his, like, laboratory or something, and he does the Mojo laugh, but he's, like, terrible at it, because he's a 24-year-old Broadway actor, and I don't know, maybe he'll be great. I also don't expect any gravitas whatsoever from their Mojo, and I expect it to be completely bland.
Yeah, I don't expect them to give him, like, a lot of crazy out there lines to say.
People actually want to talk about this topic. I did not expect this. I thought that I would ramble about this for 20 minutes. People would be disappointed that I wasn't talking about something else. Everyone would be talking about completely other things, like MCU things and stuff, in the comments, and would be just begging us to move on. And we cannot get away from Powerpuff.
It's sweeping the nation, man.
The logo is weird, too. I wish I'd brought that picture up that at least was on the back of that chair, because it looks like the Powerpuff Girls logo, but it's on IMDb if you go look up.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking.
Powerpuff and... Okay. I have a hard time looking at it, because it's the Powerpuff Girls logo just with girls taken off of it. It just looks weird.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at it on my phone. It's on a tiny chair. I didn't zoom in or anything. So I just kind of said, hey, at least it's got... I figured it would be, like, black and, like, dark Riverdale.
Well, that's the other thing that makes me think, like, either they're going to try to dupe, us actual Powerpuff Girls fans into watching it with some bright colors and things in logos and advertising, and then we'll go watch it and it won't be that at all, or they're actually attempting to make that show, even with... a premise that does not sound like that at all.
Yes, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. How did that movie get a sequel?
Yeah, that's weird.
Next week, or Thursday, we'll be talking about The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard.
Here it is.
Stay tuned.
Here it is. So I don't know if this will actually be the logo for the show.
They use the exact font.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
It's just that logo without girls on it, and It's just, is there any chance this is the show they're making?
I wonder.
Is there any chance?
There's also a chance that that's just for the set and that's not the actual logo they're going with.
Exactly.
They do have that. I mean, when I was on Spider-Man, the set, no one called it Homecoming. It was Summer of George was the code name that they all called it. Like when they sent out the casting, they always have code names, and they have like, that could just be like sometimes they have shirts, like the Marvel shirts that the crew wears aren't the actual logo for the show and stuff. So it could be. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, and that's why I was a little bit dicey until Variety put it in their article, but is it possible Variety is jumping the gun too? Like, I've not seen a lot of articles outside of that actually calling the show Powerpuff, and I'm assuming they're getting it from IMDb, and that IMDb is calling it just because they saw that on that chair. But I don't know, because I haven't seen any official press release that's calling it that.
Yeah, I think that's likely to be true, because I
do too, which is why I went ahead and talked about it. But
like, why? What else would you if you're only doing this for nostalgia? So you've got to get the Powerpuff name in there. Like, people who didn't watch the show just know Powerpuff Girls. They're not going to know it's called
The only other thing they would do is just straight up call it Powerpuff Girls and learn the lesson that they learned from Arrow and then Flash, because Arrow could have been called Green Arrow all along. Eventually they went, oh, people will just watch a Green Arrow show. Okay, we'll change everything back. We'll change the name of the city to Star City, even though at first we felt the need to make it Starling City just to separate ourselves. Oh, we don't have to separate ourselves. We can just adapt this material. Oh, it didn't have to be a Batman show necessarily. Oh, and then when they made Flash, they just called it Flash.
Well, that's because you couldn't make that any shorter. They had to make Green Arrow into one word, but you couldn't call it Ash or Fla. Wow.
Dagon Spear. Oh, Cap, you didn't see the Flash episode King Shark versus Gorilla Grodd, did you? No, I didn't. Did they really do that? Did they really try that? That can't be good.
Wow. We should watch that.
Hopefully
that comes up on Wheel of Crisis.
Yeah, I've got to start posting those again. Oh man. Anyway, let's move on. Go ahead.
All right.
What's up, folks?
$4.99. Do you like the Disney film Atlantis and Treasure Planet? What films have you not allowed or held back showing your kids till they're older?
Oh yeah, great question. The two Disney films that you mentioned, I've never seen either of those actually.
Oh wow!
I've always been a little bit curious about them, but I just it was past the point where I was bothering with the animated 2D Disney movies because I didn't like Tarzan, and after that I was just kind of like, if somebody says something's great, I'll watch it. But the two you mentioned, what Treasure Planet, what was the other one? Atlantis. Those didn't do real well at the box office. It kind of felt like at the time we were back to the 80s again with Disney animated movies, and people just weren't really going to them, and so I didn't hear anything about those. I don't know anybody that knows those movies real well, at least in my personal life. I'm sure there's folks on the channel that have seen those, and I just haven't talked to anybody about it. But
there's kind of like a dark age for Disney between like 2000 and 2006 when Bolt comes out, and then Tangled, and then they start getting big again. But yeah, there's that. I watched those because I was younger, but I liked Treasure Planet's cool. I had just read Treasure Island, and it's like a direct adaptation, just like sci-fi, which is kind of cool if you like that. If you like that book.
Do that. That was my favorite book as a kid.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it for that. It's not like earth-shattering anything, but yeah, Atlantis is a really cool concept that's just kind of like they don't explore enough, or they don't do enough with, but it's a really cool concept. And
I know there are people who love Lilo and Stitch. I've never seen that either.
Yeah, that one's really great.
And Emperor's New Groove, I finally saw one time, but it was on a bus, so I didn't. And there were a lot of people on that bus, so like I didn't really see that movie.
Yeah, and that's a comedy basically, where all the dialogue is what you need to listen to. So yeah, that might have been hard to listen to on a bus. But I love that one.
I know it's got Patrick Warburton.
Oh yeah.
Dagon Spear, going back to the Gorilla Grodd King Shark thing, he says, yes, it was pretty fun and had more shark romance than you'd likely expect.
Oh, I can always do with more shark romance.
Now I have to see that episode. It sounds amazing.
The second part of that one was, what movies have you held back to show your kids when they're a little older?
So like obvious stuff. Jason is really curious about Watchmen because Sarah and I talk about it all the time, but he can't see that at his age.
No,
Like,
no.
he just can't. And there are some things that I have already shown him that people would question that we've talked about on the channel, but that is going too far. Like I let Jason, for various reasons I won't explain right now, watch the Deadpool movies one time, and I still feel funky about that. But like Watchmen's going much too far. So yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, just I don't know, rated R, but not like everything rated R. There are some rated R movies I've let him see. I mean, he's seen the Terminator movies now, and his favorite movie is a rated R movie, which is Demolition Man. But more recent rated R things where we let things get a lot more violent and crass and stuff. I don't know. I have like I haven't let him see Logan yet.
Or Daredevil.
He's seen the PG-13 version of Daredevil, but not the the TV show. The TV
show.
show, of course. He was talking about movies, I thought. So,
Oh, sorry.
did he say TV and movies, or did he just say movies?
No, you're right. You're right. You just said films.
But yes, he is very interested in some of the Netflix Marvel stuff, and I can't let him watch that stuff yet either. I'm just exclusively talking about superhero stuff.
I
but
can't
right
imagine
now,
you in the room with him while the limo door scene happens. I couldn't. I don't know what
I couldn't
would
deal
do
with
if
that.
my
But
son
even worse than that would be the flashback with Kingpin
Oh,
and his
yes.
father. Like, I still have nightmares about that. I think that is one of the most brilliant scenes ever filmed in anything, and it hurts my feelings, and I can't deal with it. Like,
Yeah, I've only watched that, and Jessica Jones too. Like I don't think I'll ever be able to watch Jessica Jones again. Like I love that season was brilliant, but like that makes me so
hard to-
uncomfortable.
yeah, it's unsettling. But yeah, obviously, I'm not a big horror fan, but the few horror movies I really like, I can't show them yet. Like some of my absolute favorite movies, I still have to wait a couple, 3 years at least for Jason. And I'm just talking about Jason because my other kids are much too young now. I mean, Freddy's 6, Mikey's 2, and the twins are not born yet, so they can't watch anything. But
Watch
things.
anything with them now.
Sorry, what?
You can watch anything with them now. They can't see it. They're just they can be in the room with you, but they'll.
True, but they're by definition not watching.
That's true. They can hear.
That's true. But can they listen? Misery is one of my favorite films of all time. Can't show him that yet. So yeah, stuff
I
like
have a
that.
question, real quick. What age do you think you'll show him Psycho?
Psycho, I actually have shown him part of.
Oh.
Yeah, that I would let him watch. I don't know. I can't really well articulate why I draw certain lines in certain places. It's just about where he is, like intellectually and with his emotional maturity. I think that's a movie that that he would understand well enough and be able to get through. I started showing him that at Halloween last year, and then it was too late at night. He fell asleep. So we haven't
that makes
finished
sense.
it. So thanks for reminding me. I have to show him the rest of that. He was really enjoying it though. He likes old movies. He likes black and white films.
Cool. Sounds like a cool kid.
Okay, we have a ridiculous amount of questions here, so let's try to blow through them as well as we can. And like I've said before, we do have to cut the show off at an hour tonight, but if we have some stray super chats, depending on how many we have, I'll either tackle them on Thursday or I'll make a separate video a little bit later and just go ahead and answer those real quick. Go ahead, DJ.
All right. Thoughts? Nope. Let me skip.
I have none. Zero thoughts.
Yeah, there will be no caps thoughts at the end of this one because we're going to be right up to the wire. John Kelling.
Boy, I loved that as an idea. We just have not been able to get back to it. But yeah.
Yeah, we need to do it again because the first time we did it, I was on the spot and didn't have anything. But I'm sure. John Kelling. JoJo is perhaps the Rowdy Puff Boys perfected.
Yeah, the Rowdy Rough Boys, sure.
Rowdy Rough, sorry.
He absolutely might be that, yeah. I think the Rowdy Rough Boys were built by Mojo Jojo, right? Am I remembering that right? It's been a while. I'm rusty. But yeah, they were
oh, cool. So they did
male
like the
version.
Power Rangers thing.
Yeah, they were male versions of the Powerpuff Girls, but they were bad and they had the same powers. But yeah, that's a good call. It absolutely could be that. JoJo was a man who thought he was a loner, but he just needed a little help from his friends. Anyway, go ahead.
All right, Logan Dodd, $4.99. Thoughts on Netflix's Jupiter's Legacy trailer?
I have not seen that. I heard about it. and saw that it was a sci-fi thing, but I'm just overwhelmed with material and don't have time to watch much right now, apart from stuff that I'm reviewing on request. So yeah, sorry, I've not looked into that. It just seems like there's a million sci-fi things and I never know what's gonna actually be worth sitting down and looking at, and I don't know, like I said, I don't have a lot of time. When the twins are born and all I'm able to do is sit around and watch TV, I'll probably watch more stuff. But
yeah, you catch up on a lot of stuff.
Thanks so much for the super chat. I'm sorry I didn't have anything to bring to the table on that. Go ahead.
Bit of a skew. $10.
Sorry, what? Pepe Le Pew, what?
No, this is the Rowdy Rough Boys version of Pepe Le Pew. Oh, bit of a skew.
Okay.
Is Wolverine a hypocrite for always being sad about killing, even though his healing factor and adamantium skeleton should make it very easy for him to take down most people non-lethally?
That's interesting. I don't know if I agree with that, because, like, I don't know, if Wolverine is in an area all by himself and he can be sure that he can take something down non-lethally and that it can't possibly escape and go hurt anyone else, then you have a point. But, like, I don't know. I think Wolverine doesn't, he's a character that doesn't, immediately have the same kind of qualms that like a Batman or a Superman would against killing. So if he thinks a person has, is dangerous enough that they're going to go hurt somebody else, and he needs to take them out, he's a lot more likely to be lethal about it. I mean, I don't know if I even agree with the premise of the question, that he's so depressed about killing. I think it depends on what part of his life and who we're talking about. I don't think Wolverine is like Angel. I don't think he has remorse for every person he's ever killed. I think he has a different morality. Would you agree with that, DJ?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's saying he's always sad. I guess that in the movie version, he's probably talking about the movie version more.
But I don't think that's true there either, that he's always sad about killing. I think he's sad about being out of control and somebody else's puppet and being used to go, fight other people's battles and kill people that he didn't mean to kill. But, like, when he runs down that hallway in X2 and kills Stryker's soldiers, I don't think he's mourning that.
No, yeah, I think that, up to a certain point, I think that character's just more being mopey about his past and trying to figure that out than stuff he's actually done.
Yeah, that's why I said I don't think I agree with the initial premise, that he would be a hypocrite because he is able to heal, so that should make it easy for him to take people out without killing them. You have an interesting point. Were his morality different, or like something that Cyclops, Professor X, or somebody could maybe bring to him and be like, do you actually have to be as violent as you are? Like, yes, he does have that worry of, like, just being an animal. Like how much of me is a real human being? Like, am I, when I was brought in for the Weapon X program, did they turn me into an animal, or was I already that way and that's just my destiny? It's a thing that I can't control. He absolutely has that, but I think that's different than like mourning killing people, and then that's more of a psychological issue before it's something that I could call like I don't know, contradictory.
Yeah. I mean, the man has knives coming out of his hands. He's not going to be clean. It's going to be messy.
Not the most defensive of weapons. Yes.
All right. Good question, though. The next one, we have a $5 donation from Dylan the Villain.
Hi,
didn't have a question, but does have a really cool name. So thank you.
He does. Thanks, man.
Thank you, sir. Michael Martin.
Tale Cap, would you show Jason the It films? No, not yet. I would not do that. Those are a little too rough right now. And I just know he would react badly to them. Good.
Michael Martin, $5. I'm curious what your opinion on Sailor Moon would be. It's essentially a perfect blend of Powerpuff Girls and Power Rangers. Keep up the great work, guys.
I have just never actually seen that. That's the most popular, at least over here, of the, at least in its day, in the 90s, of the like magical girl shows. If if I'm right about that, because I never actually sat down and watched it. But yeah, that always looked like that kind of a thing. It was sort of like Powerpuff Girls, sort of like Power Rangers. Powerpuff Girls
Makes sense.
had an anime like that also. I don't know if you're aware of that. A really wiggy, crazy looking anime, where it was not the CW premise, but they were much more human looking and they were older. So it was like basically teenage Powerpuff Girls, but in just as heightened of a universe and with a very different kind of tone and atmosphere.
Yeah. Interesting. Next is from Super Billy, $5. Hey Cap,
Hello.
As a fan of Brian Michael Bendis, what are your thoughts on his disreputable run on Superman?
I dropped off after the first couple of arcs, so I can't speak to it past that. To be fair, I dropped off of most modern comics entirely right around the same time as I did that. I kept reading a couple of things here and there, and now I'm pretty well out. I'm wanting to catch up on a few things. I did a post the other day on social media asking people for recommendations on things that have come out in the last 2 or 3 years, so that I can kind of catch up, especially on the big two, just a little bit, and have a sense of where things are right now. But I thought it was awful. I thought he was the wrong man at that time of his career for that. I've talked about this before when it came out. I thought from the beginning it wasn't good. I didn't like his Man of Steel miniseries. I didn't understand what the point of that even was before we got to the main series. It seemed really padded and wasn't really going anywhere, and I don't remember a lot about it now because I just didn't like it. But it was kind of dull, and I didn't think he had a voice for the character. And I think I think anything he had written right then would not have been great. He was working on multiple books for too long at Marvel and really needed some time off in between, and he didn't do that. He basically went right into that, and I think that was ultimately kind of the mistake. He tried to do the same thing on that book, on those books, I should say, because he was writing two at the same time, and I don't know what he's doing right now. But he tried to do the same thing that he did with X-Men, where it was two books that kind of crossed, here and there, and that you could read one of and not the other, but it was better if you read them both. And I don't know, it didn't work with that. But I can't speak more articulately about it right now because I haven't read it in 3 years.
John Ty, what modern comics? Wow, this couldn't go any better. What modern comics have you been reading recently?
Lately, nothing, and that's partly because this year, as I've talked about before, I've had a New Year's resolution of not spending money on myself, and I will buy things that I'm reviewing if I need to, because that's a business expense. But I haven't been reviewing new comics because people have just not been that interested. We don't have the audience for that we used to. And so when I do comics, I tend to, go backwards and review things that people are more interested in and that I'm more curious about reading from some years back. And I mean, I've done a couple things here and there. I did Black Label's Harleen, which I thought was brilliant. I think everybody should look at. I did White Knight not too long ago, a few months ago now, which came out, I guess, 3 or 4 years now. And I'm curious about the sequel. And I guess it's had another spinoff or two at this point, I think I have heard. But yeah, I was still keeping up with Powerpuff Girls and Ninja Turtles. I was not happy with the IDW Ninja Turtles when I dropped off of it. It has a new writer, and I was kind of bored with what she was doing, which sucks. And so, Tom Waltz left the book, and he was doing I guess, I don't know if it's done yet, but he was doing The Last Ronin with the original Ninja Turtles creators, Eastman and Laird. And by with them, I mean they had a concept and he wrote it for them, and then they sold it like it was those two finally getting back together. I hated that. But I haven't read that yet either. So yeah, I'm very behind. But yeah, I was keeping up with, like I said, the Power Rangers comics up until just a couple of months ago. But that's really the only thing I've read much of very recently at all.
Yeah, I'm glad you put out that post, though, because people were mentioning Spider-Man Life Story, and I started reading that on Kindle, and I'm liking it so far. So
I've heard a lot of good things about that. Yeah. How many Super Chats do we have left? We've got about 5 minutes left of the program.
We have probably more than we can finish in 5 minutes, but I'm cool to hang around a little bit longer if you are. But if you want to wrap it up, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Let's see what I can do in 5 minutes, and then we'll reassess. Go ahead.
Okay.
And I apologize about pre-written, but we talked a long time about Powerpuff, and then I was not expecting this kind of turnout for Super Chats tonight. So thanks, everybody. Go ahead.
All right, Jedi Knight, calling it now. You already read that one, so we're good. So yeah, we have a little less than that because you jumped in here a little bit.
I read a couple as they came up, yeah. Sorry for doing your job for you.
That's all good. Sped Q, Cap, would you rather have a perfect version of Voyager or Enterprise?
Ooh, I like that question.
The show's not the ships, he says.
I like that question a lot. That's difficult. That's actually really hard. I think as far as the history of the franchise goes, I have to say Enterprise, because if Enterprise had been a better show, they might have been able to keep it on, and Abrams may have never gotten his hands on it. I say that. There's also the split with CBS and Paramount, so if TV had been able to continue, then you might have had a bad movie side, but they might have been totally separate franchises, and then you'd still be good. In fact, that might have been better, because you would have had the original continuity doing its own thing, and then if the movies were bad, at least I'd still have the original continuity, of course. And now we're in this weird limbo place where it's sort of the same thing, but not really, and it gets really murky. So that's just for the sake of the history of the franchise, right? As far as the actual two shows, I like Voyager more than I like Enterprise, so I think just for my own personal enjoyment, I would rather a perfect Voyager that from the beginning actually ran with the premise better with the mixed Starfleet and Maquis crew, and was a little bit more serialized and could have some season-long arcs, actually did Year of Hell as an entire season like it was supposed to, didn't just rip off All Good Things with Endgame at the end and throw Janeway under the bus for going back in time and saving just two of her friends instead of anyone else she got killed along the way, etc., etc. Fixing Voyager is very, very easy. And fixing Enterprise is dicier because you almost have to start with a totally different premise, I think. But I won't get into that right now. So I guess my answer personally is Voyager, but for the sake of the whole franchise, it would be Enterprise.
Cool. We got a 99-cent super chat from DeJuan Patterson Powers, so thank you for that. And then he put in another one. I don't know if that was a mistake or something, but he put in a $9.99 one. Questions. What would Spider-Man be without his theme of problems and being broke?
Sorry, I thought you were going to stop there. What would Spider-Man be without Spider-Man? Spider-Man, radio.
Nothing, as we learned. The theme is everything. No, his themes of problems and being broke or responsibility.
Just another superhero is the. Let me answer these as they come, because we'll do this real quick. Do you agree with that, DJ? That's what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man. Of course, is the responsibility thing and his being, and it being more of a ongoing novel, about a real person that can change and grow and has multiple opportunities for change, as opposed to what superheroes had been right before that, which is just for the most part guys that had things figured out already and were pretty static characters. He's got a really cool costume, he's got a really cool power set, but he's not Spider-Man if he's not flawed and a teenager who puts himself first originally and then has to learn the hard way that that's a bad idea.
Yeah, he's got a lot of cool stuff about him, and the idea that the sidekick teenager would just be the superhero himself is cool, but I don't think it would have lasted if he didn't have the responsibility.
Yeah, the gimmick of it being a teenager on his own, I don't think would necessarily still give it the legs it would need to be as the phenomenon that it is.
I think he still would have been probably because at the time you didn't have to be that deep. He kind of changed things, but I think he still would have been popular at the time. I just don't think he would have lasted as long as he has or had the impact that he's had.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah. Because Fantastic Four was really huge too, and it doesn't have the deeper characterizations as much. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's certainly stuff in those books, but I don't think that's what resonated with people as much with Fantastic Four, as much as just the out there fantastic stories and a close knit team. Because that was the first time a team of superheroes was really popular.
Yeah, and then he says the X-Men be without the discrimination theme.
Well, clearly, I mean, it just wouldn't even exist without that, right? That's that's created as a metaphor for racism in the first place. But again, if you didn't have that and it was just a team of like people with superpowers where the premise is they're born that way, go, and that way you can give them any superpowers you want to, they would maybe be a little bit popular initially, but could have also come off really generic. I mean, the X-Men weren't a big deal early on anyway. Like, I think that doesn't happen until the 80s and 90s. Like, I think, or at least the 70s, like, I think you have to have that initial idea to get them there, but if they didn't have it at all, like, they really would never have caught on, I don't think. But that's...
Yeah, that's interesting. He said, would they just be regular superheroes or something else? So yeah.
I think they would, yeah.
Spit of Askew, $2 to say Treasure Planet is an underrated gem.
I will check that out finally. My wife's actually been going through all of the Disney animated movies with my kids, and I was thinking about checking in with some of the ones I hadn't seen when they finally get to them.
Yeah,
we've been watching them too in order.
We just got to The Rescuers with my son, so we're in the 70s now. I think we're about to go to what's it called? Fox and the Hound. So that'll be a fun
DJ, if you can handle 10 more minutes, I'll see if I can knock the rest of these out in that amount of time.
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay, let's do that.
Dewan Patterson Powers, $9.99. What is the biggest misconception of Superman, the Superman character? He's not a complete Boy Scout. He does have flaws, and he does deal with his morality, and he's not really a godlike character.
I mean, he sometimes is a godlike character. It just depends on who's writing him, of course. I mean, when it's Snyder, he's not sure which of those things he is. But yeah. So I guess I don't fully know where to go with that as a question. It sounds like you sort of answered it. Like, he was like, he's like, what's the biggest misconception? And then he just threw out some misconceptions and said these are all wrong. And I agree with most of that.
I guess just pick one of those that you think is the worst.
Pick one of those. I've said this before. I actually have a whole video about this called "Why Is Superman Hard to Write?" Kind of off the cuff exploration of that idea that I did a couple of years ago, and what I said there was that the idea that Superman is boring just because nothing can kill him is a really odd misnomer to me, and I think a lot of dull stories about him make people think that, but I've always thought, and I've said this a million times, that Superman is inherently interesting because of that line he has to walk where he is that powerful, but he also has to be a human being in order to both set a good example and not accidentally wind up as the evil despot that people think that he can be. And so, like, in order to have that, mix of a superhero life and a human life, he's got to walk a line where, as Superman, he has to come off as perfect, but as Clark Kent, he has to be a human being, or the Superman part of it doesn't work at all. And that's where the interesting drama comes from, in figuring out how to be both at the same time. How can you be an icon and a flawed human being? He has to do that, or none of it works. So for me, the biggest misnomer is that Superman is boring just because he can fly and has heat vision. I don't understand that. But you got to tell character-driven stories with him, or it doesn't work. I've also always said that if I sat down and wrote a Superman story, I would try really hard to prove that, and then it would probably just be really boring and terrible. It's always been my worry. I'm like, Superman can't be that hard to write, and then I sit down and try to write one. I've never done that. I've never tried to write a Superman fanfic or anything.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Dylan.
I've always said Musciello.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
Would you rather there have been... Oh, would you rather? Would you rather there have been no Star Trek before '09, or continuing with current continuity, but it just gets okay?
What does he mean, no Star Trek before '09?
I guess that there would be... You wouldn't have the Star Trek you love, so you wouldn't be let down by this current stuff?
Oh, yeah, I mean, obviously I wouldn't want that. That's too much of my chemical makeup, and I think it's really important to defining some of the really positive things about, honestly, America and our society, if I can go that far. I mean, like, I wouldn't want to lose Star Trek.
Yeah, even if you never get good Star Trek ever again, you still have that.
Yeah.
wouldn't get rid of that.
Or if the current stuff technically wrecks it. I've never had that attitude of you ruined my childhood. I've never had that. I will say that it hurts my feelings that we're adding to continuity right now that I can't get away from, where, like, obviously Picard has to sort of be canonical, even though I have a hard time looking at it that way, just because it doesn't fit, and it more than retcon stuff, but, like, officially that is the canon now. We took that character and moved on with him, even though he looks like he's in a completely different world. That doesn't make any sense. Like, it's sad. I hate that. Going back, I just have to ignore the current stuff. I'm not gonna be like, oh, they've... The only time something can ruin what came before it, to me, is if it was unfinished. And Star Trek wasn't, like, unfinished. There was certainly more stuff you could do with it, but...
Yeah.
That only happens when, like, you didn't stick the landing at the end of something that was, like, one singular story.
Carl Maxey, $5. You know the CW Powerpuff Girls are going to have an on-again, off-again relationship with the Rowdy Rough Boys and keep secrets from each other. Makes me sick.
Yeah, and that'll be... I don't even think you can call that a love triangle. It's weird because it's three of them twice, and then you can have a thing where, like, different of them are cheating on others with different of them, and just, like, blow my mind with, like, who is dating whom. I don't even know. Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think that will also happen. There's no way the Rowdy Rough Boys are not in that show, right? Like, that has to happen.
Anything's possible. Logan Dodd, I love this. $3.99. How much are you dreading reviewing Thunder Force?
I don't know, because I haven't looked at a trailer or anything. People have been sending me things about that movie. We're like, oh, Cap, can you believe that Melissa McCarthy made a superhero movie for Netflix? And I don't know. I've gotten 5 or 6 requests for it, and there's a part of me that wants to go ahead and watch it and do a how we felt about, so that when I get to the rewind, I'm like I know what it is, so that I can just sit down and watch it one more time and write about it instead of being, like, blindsided at that point. God, I don't want to have to write about this. But I could have the same thing looking at it and then doing it later, so I don't know. But I have kicked around going ahead and getting it out of the way and watching it, doing how we felt about.
Yeah, I keep seeing it it keeps popping up on the banner on Netflix every time we go on to watch The Queen's Gambit, but I haven't. I thought about watching it with you just as, like, a commentary, like a fun thing, but Dan said it wasn't even, like, fun bad. Like, he watched, like, 20 minutes and turned it off.
Turned it off? So. Really? Okay.
So, I don't know.
I was hoping at least it would be a train wreck, but...
Yeah, that's what... I know Austin was hoping that because he loves that kind of stuff, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Dylan the Villain. Back again. Captain Logan, will you be checking out HBO's The Nevers? And if you have already, what did you think about it?
I've been on the fence about it because that is such an awkward situation. That's the show that Joss Whedon was developing, and he got ejected from. I mean, surely he got ejected from that. The idea that he left of his own accord, I think, is kind of ludicrous. But, like, he's been pretty clearly blacklisted from Hollywood recently. So, it sounded cool, and I was initially excited to see Joss Whedon come back to television, and now, in light of all the weirdness with him, I don't know what to think about the whole thing. I've heard that it's getting nothing but bad reviews, but I haven't read any of them, and I haven't looked at that pilot yet. But I may watch it if I can find time, and just and maybe, you know, kick out at how we felt about on just that first episode. But I don't know what that'll look like without his involvement. You know, I don't know if there's any chance of it being salvaged, or maybe it was bad in the first place. Who knows? Just because his name's on it doesn't mean it's good anyway. So,
yeah. Blue Dragon 5 says Jason Bateman was fun in that Thunder Pants movie or whatever it's called.
Thunder Pants. Thunder
Which
Force.
is true. Jason Bateman is always, like, a class act. He's always playing the straight man, like, in anything. So I can believe that.
I see 2 more super chats.
Yeah, $1.99. What is your favorite type of cheese? Well, because cheese.
Pepper jack, all day long. Maybe not all day long, but I love pepper jack.
No, you don't want to do that all day long. You
Yeah,
have some stomach trouble.
It's probably a mistake. Yeah.
Thanks, Bag, for always keeping it interesting. John Ty, $5. Last one of the night. Do you feel like Peter Parker in the comics still acts like a teenager, even though he's supposed to be an adult?
It just depends on what I'm reading, and I know that's a cop-out, but it's just hard not to say that. It depends on who's writing him. I didn't feel that way with what I read of Spencer, but I've not read any more that run after the first couple of arcs. So again, I'm just real out of the loop right now. But yeah, that's true sometimes and sometimes not. I mean, Slott, I felt that way all the time, but I didn't feel that way, you know, in the 90s when, and not that a lot of the Spider-Man stuff was good or anything, but he still seemed like an adult to me most of the time. But when that happens, it tends to just be people who aren't great writers writing childishly anyway. I think, but maybe it is also with Slott specifically that kind of having your cake and eat it too thing, where, you know, he loves classic Spider-Man, he wants to be building on old school Stan Lee stuff, but he's also, you know, writing an adult Peter Parker, but they've also de-aged him, so it's like, well, because he's not 30 something, I can write him as if he's like 17, even though he's supposed to be in his 20s and owns a multi-million-dollar corporation.
John Kelly likes sharp cheddar.
I also like sharp cheddar. There's not a lot of cheeses I don't like.
Yeah, everyone's really on your side, but this is not a pineapple situation. Like, Rohit Dohar says pepper jack is his favorite too. Ren Davis says, I love pepper jack too. Good man, Cap. Everyone's on your side with the pepper jack.
Well, that's a first. I didn't think I had controversial opinions about food until the pineapple on pizza thing came up.
Yeah, that was devastating. That almost took down the channel.
We didn't think we'd be able to bounce back. It's the reason that we've cut the show back to an hour, because if I only speak for an hour, I'm less likely to get into the weeds on things as political as pineapple on a pizza. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. Hope you had a good time. We're going to go ahead and call it here. We will... DJ, thanks for hanging out a few extra minutes so that we could get those super chats knocked out. I appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to do it.
We will be back again on Thursday with another one, folks. And I don't know what theme or topic we'll be doing on that show yet. We always kind of fly by the seat of our pants on this. But we'll do a kind of regular After Dark that night and just bring in a few topics. Me and DJ won't be able to be there probably, but I'll have possibly Brandon and almost definitely Austin. So join me then, won't you? And in the meantime, I was Captain Logan, and this was DJ Martinez.
See you guys.
Later, folks.